This is the brand new Redcat Ascent, and in this video we're going to go over how to install the Underdrive gears that they provide with you as you buy this ready-to-run truck, and just how much Underdrive you get. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Troy. This is Roadside RC. You'll tend to find me crawling and bashing and racing and drifting, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. This Redcat Ascent, after I've been testing it and driving it around, might literally be the best ready-to-run crawler that you can possibly get your hands on for $289. And it comes with a very nice feature, which is in it, you have the ability to put underdrive gears in the rear to give a different speed front and rear. This is usually used for two things in crawling. One, it reduces the turning radius by those front wheels spinning faster. It's usually able to pull around those rear tires. And then two, it usually helps with uphill climbing, especially depending on the surface that you're in. I've tested this personally in a bunch of vehicles over the years, and I really do like getting some pretty good, like 20% plus overdrive in my crawlers. We're gonna get the body off, we're gonna get this center transmission case out, and start looking at swapping these gears over. One of the first things I believe we're gonna have to do is get all of these drive shafts disconnected. So I'm gonna come in here with my 2mm driver. I'm gonna then take these 3 screws out of the bottom to get the transmission all the way out. The transmission will now lift up, and you can separate these drive shafts and set them to the side as you go. You can see my top drive shaft just fell all the way out, so we'll set it here and get it off to the side. And now we have the transmission itself. We need to get to these gears inside of it. So I'm going to take this screw and see if this cover just comes off. There we go. Hey, that's great. That actually allows us to get right in there to the gears that we need to get to. So I think I did more than is necessary here. I think Redcat was really smart with how they designed this. Because this cover is on the rear, I think you probably could have honestly left the whole transmission in the truck, left the 2 front drive shafts connected, disconnected the rear drive shaft, disconnected this, and probably done the whole thing in the truck. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy to show you here compared to in there, like how this works, but I think you probably could have skipped a couple steps and actually done this even easier than how I'm doing it. So here's the options that you have. The factory gearing is a 20-24. If I did that math right, if I counted right there, it's a 20-24, and that gives you a 1-1 gear ratio. You also have a 19-25. All right, so that 19-25 is supposed to give you about a 10% underdrive in the rear. And then you have a 18-26, and this is supposed to give you about a 20% underdrive. So I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with the 20%. That's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of what I like to drive with my crawlers. It's fine for trailing. It's fine for crawling. It's fine for everything. You're not going to hurt anything. You just go straight to the 20%. So we're going to go ahead and put those back in here and start getting this thing reassembled. Okay, now just in case your shafts came out like mine did as we were doing this whole thing, there's 2 shafts in here. One is longer and has 2 sets of cross pins. One is shorter with 1 set of cross pins. The longer one with the 2 sets, the long side goes in the shorter upper gear. And one of the cross pins actually goes into the short gear for the small gear for the front drive. And then you can take your 18 and put that on the back side of it. Then you have 2 gears locked into those 2 pins. This other drive, the short side with the pin on it, goes into the bearing. And your 26 tooth gear goes in and locks into that cross pin. That's how this is supposed to be designed. So I just wanted to make sure that I showed that. Mine came loose and I had this like moment of like, ruh-roh, which way does it go? I couldn't remember. So I wanted to make sure that I showed that here on video in case someone else had the same issue like I did. When you put this cover back on, this longer part of this is supposed to stick out of the top here. Back in, just like that. As I go to put these small screws back in through the drive shaft, you can call me silly, it doesn't look like any of this had Loctite on it from the factory. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that. Anytime that I do metal into metal, which it looks like this end of this drive shaft is, I like to have Loctite on that stuff. So I'm going to use some blue Permatex. I can leave a link to it down in the description if you don't have any. Put just a little bit on these threads as I put it together. Now, just like that, we're all back together. I'm going to get a battery in it, and we're going to go and actually show you the overdrive now in this and see that 20%. All right, so I just put some masking tape both on the tires here, and this will mark, and you can easily see as the tires rotate. I like to do this every time I mess with overdrive or axle swaps or anything, just to make sure that, you know, tires are spinning in the right direction, overdrive, underdrive is happening as I think it should. I've seen this before where folks either get a gear in backwards and one axle spinning one way, another spinning another, or they do an overdrive in the rear instead of an underdrive, and all of a sudden this is spinning faster. So it's always good to just check. So now all we're going to do is just slowly drive, and you'll see that as the front tire, so now that we have the front tire around 1 revolution, you can see that the rear tire has not quite made that revolution. If it was straight here to the side, it'd be about 25%. So saying that that's about 20% seems like it makes a little bit of logical sense. I hope this video was useful for you. If you have any questions about what I did or why I did it in this video, please leave them down in the comments and I'll be happy to respond as much as possible. But if you want to see anything else that I've done with this crawler, there's a playlist that'll be popping up right here to your right for everything Redcat Ascent. We'll see you in one of those videos. Thank you and goodbye.